If you were chronically online between 2016 and 2020, you definitely heard about the urban legend of the backrooms and that whole internet niche obsessed with liminal spaces. And if other than chronically online, you're also passionate about fragrances, you might have wondered at least once how these viral desolate landscapes would smell like if you could only dive inside these pictures. Hi, I'm Anna Hayes. I'm a singer, songwriter, and visual artist. But I'm also here to talk about my passions like films, music, perfumes, series, and art in general that's weird, obscure, unsettling, or all the above. Back in 2021, I started a concept for a movie partially inspired by the Backrooms and its original level system. But that's a whole tragically nerdy story for another time. The urban legend started on 4chan when someone posted this picture pretending that he somehow no-clipped the walls of reality and ended up in this parallel world made of empty hallways. For reference, no-clip is a debug command that can be used when playing a video game to be able to ignore the walls and barriers inside the game's world so that you can pass right through them and reach parts of the map that shouldn't be accessible to the player. Sometimes this happens even spontaneously as a bug, trapping the player's avatar in that hidden and complete part of the world. And that's what supposedly happened in real life to the user who wrote the original post, which also seems to imply, if you will, that reality itself is a game or some simulation of some sort. After that, more and more users kept adding to the lore of the backrooms, inventing new levels as they came across new pictures that could evoke that same very specific sense of uneasiness. It's usually hotel rooms, malls, public pools, unassuming and somewhat nostalgic everyday places, seen in a different weird light when they're unusually empty and something feels off. I have a soft spot for this kind of settings and I'm, wherever I see them depicted in paintings or in films. David Lynch, who's also my favorite director and artist of all times, was an absolute master in the depiction of liminal spaces. Since I also love drawing connections between different art forms, here's some perfume that always seemed to drag me in a similar state of existence. Let's get into it. Memory Motel by Nanui Nomad has the advantage of a name that immediately makes you think of an unseen Edward Hopper's painting. But I can assure you, it's not a gimmick, it's incredibly spot on. It opens as a sweet, sweet iris. There's the slightest touch of bergamot that dissipates almost immediately as an oldish tobacco raises from the dust, always dancing with that sweet iris. It evolves so beautifully, like it's portraying the passing of time, of decades fast-forwarded in a couple hours, with the softest leather and patchouli in the end. This perfume always made me emotional. It's the postcard from a ghost story, which, as Mike Flanagan says, it's always also a love story in disguise. The ghosts of two lovers sit on a leather couch, endlessly looking through each other, chain-smoking their ghost cigarettes in a musty hotel room like this one, yearning for a touch they wouldn't be able to feel anymore. That's the story and that's the liminal space for Memory Motel. I must admit, I wish I could get the hype for imaginary odors. Their concepts and their artworks are absolutely stunning, but their fragrances rarely speak to me. Yesterday Haze is one of the few. I still wouldn't wear it very much, because there's something off-putting about its creamy, fruity sweetness, which, on the other hand, made so that it made it into this list. It's sweet like only the memory of sweetness could be, with a vague hint of heartache. Since from the start is strictly blended with a nutty, woodsy accord that for some reason gives to the composition a very vintage and slightly synthetic vibe. Makes me think of the fake wood paneling, drenched in sweet nicotine, of an abandoned office from the 70s or 80s, and a lot of beige carpet. I can't really explain where that come from. I might have been a deadbeat dad in a previous life who wanted to be a pilot, but worked and died in an office like this. Wow, that was dark. Talking of dark, I wouldn't have guessed that something called La Fin du Monde would smell so lovely. This fragrance by Italie Orange is supposed to evoke the feeling of watching the end of the world unravel in real time while munching on popcorn. In my personal vision, you're watching it from a velvet seat, as the only survivor, as it's projected over and over again in a loop on a silver screen. If you find empty cinema theaters both nostalgic and somewhat threatening, you know where I'm going with this. The powdery smell left by the hairspray and makeup of thousands of members of past audiences rubbing their heads on the velvet before you. Salty, buttery popcorns left under the seat. The heavy sweetness of the enclosed space. It's a strange perfume. A very unique mixture of a savory gourmand and cosmetic iris. Yet incredibly wearable, beautiful and delicate close to the skin. Finally, Nirvana Bourbon by Elizabeth and James is such an underrated gem. Only vanilla, tuberose, and oak wood are listed among the declared notes, and none of them quite makes me understand where the hint of stale ashtray comes from. And I know it, that doesn't sound remotely as good as I swear it smells like. We are back at the motel on the exterior this time. It's made of wood, and there's a pool, because I say so. You will absolutely be wearing this perfume, sitting outside on a plastic chair, writing mysterious letters. It's so late at night, it's actually early in the morning. The music's off, the ice cubes in what rests of your whiskey almost completely melted, and the only sounds that keep you company are the cars passing by in the distance, the crickets infesting the summer heat, and the buzzing of the short-circuiting neon sign. They all sing together to tell you you'll be okay. You always have been. I hope you enjoyed no clipping out of reality with me. If you have different perfumes that make you think of liminal spaces, let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more of this content and want to support me. Good night, have very strange dreams.